Dallas Races Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC. W5FC.
Anybody know what the planet or star is to the 10 o'clock of the incredibly full moon up there, W5GUS mobile?
Gus, this is Chaz. I believe Jupiter's up there in that neighborhood.
Wow, yeah, very nice. It's definitely bright, and to the 10 o'clock of the full moon, and maybe a finger, 2 fingers distance between them. Well, thanks, Chaz. I was hoping someone would be alert and know what they were.
Hey, Gus, this is N5BB. Jupiter is real near the moon, and Saturn isn't too far away from it. N5BB.
That's correct. It's Saturn's about 3 times the distance away from the moon as Jupiter is, but Saturn is up at about a 2 o'clock position. KF5, JHA.
Yeah, I was looking on Star Walk, my iOS app, which shows all that stuff. I just point it up in the air, and it shows me what's up there. Gotta go. Time for the net, N5BB. Hi, Gus. Hi, Chaz.
Mr. Chairman,
Michelle, W5GUS.
if we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A, and 12. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Please come with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. So please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob and Dallas, short time.
Kilo India 5, November Oscar November, Logan and Garland, short time.
I-5, PGL, Matt in Murphy, short time.
Okay, let's get those. Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob. Kilo India 5, November Oscar November, Logan. Kilo India 5, Papa Tango Lima, Matt. All right, let's go to regular check-ins. Please come now.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray, Tom, Louisville.
Kilo Foxtrot Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey J, Weatherford.
Kilo Bravo 5, Delta Mike Charlie, Brian in Roanoke.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, I'm going to need a fill on one of these. Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray, Tom. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill. Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay. Kilo Bravo 5, Delta, I think Mike Charlie, Brian. The next one blipped out and I missed it. It started with Kilo 0 Foxtrot, I believe.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris, Southeast Dallas.
All right. Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Brett. Then Kilo 5 Golf Lima Delta, Randy. All right, let's do some Echolink check-ins. Please come now. Well, none heard. Let's go back to regular check-ins. Please come now.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas.
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay and Mesquite.
Kilo 5, Charlie Whiskey Bravo, Mobile, South Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
have Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha Chaz, Whiskey 5, Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, November 5, Oscar Foxtrot Clay, and Kilo 5, Charlie Whiskey Bravo, Mr. Name.
David Curtis, K-Cloud CWB Mobile.
Alright, then Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima James. Any other check-ins?
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Alpha Golf 9, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
In Norman, Oklahoma.
Okay, I think we have some doubles. First we have November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill. Then Antonio, I missed your call sign. We'll come back. Then it sounded like somebody's in Oklahoma. Who is that?
Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma. Thanks.
Okay, John, give me your prefix again, please.
K5, JDW.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta, Whiskey, John. All right, well, we'll do more check-ins after a while. So, do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? This can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please allow about 30... Oh, let's see. Okay, please come now. Well, all right. We've got announcements for some of our nets. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. You'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, live audio link is available on their website at amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz. Tuesdays, Tom, N5HYP, is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the ARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz positive offset. All right, and for the nets, on first Mondays we have ham fixins, and also the third Monday. The second Monday is MCOM 101. Fourth Monday, GeekNet. Fifth Monday, Surprise Net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. Honor participation is encouraged. Then Tuesdays, AMSAT East at 8. And Fridays, Cert City Simulation Summer Hours are at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet 7 to 8, and of course Skynet at 9. And the first and third Sundays, the DARC meeting on the air, that's MODA. Then every day, there's the ARRL net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. All right, but this is not our last net of the evening. At about 10:30, we have the Afterglow movie. We have a movie assigned to us on Sunday, and we watch it during the week, and then on Saturday night we discuss it. And the synopsis of this goes something like this. Mackenzie looked at all the items he'd been on and won in the Western Memorabilia and Star Trek Convention. He did an inventory. Old phasers, Spock's pointed ears, William Shatner's past kidney stones. But before he knew it, he spotted a picture. It was over 100 years old, and it showed a man with a 357 Magnum. While Clint Eastwood was over 100 years old, he in fact could not be this man in the picture, and he couldn't have owned the most powerful handgun ever made in the 1880s. Mackenzie seemed confused and showed the picture to his friend, who was dressed as a Starfleet admiral. He spoke. "Joe, does this look odd to you?" Joe responded, "Yes, there's no Edith Keeler. If you have time travel problems, that woman was never far away." Mackenzie knew he wasn't going to get any expert help on this one. Join us for another time travel adventure, this time Time Stalkers from 1987, tonight at 10:30. You can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Chaz, KF5JHA, do you have information?
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I do. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, August the 27th. That's in 6 days, at 7:30 p.m. The topic will be about quantum computing and astronomy simulations by Michael McGugan from Brookhaven National Laboratory. The task club members will receive an email on Zoom meeting sometime in the next few days about the meeting, because it is a Zoom meeting. Task plans has had plans to resume having face-to-face meetings at their September meeting, but with the increase in COVID cases, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. We did resume having some public observing sessions, but once again, those have been put on hold again due to the increase in COVID-19. One of the reasons that Skynet was picked to be on a Saturday night was so that the opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions that are also held on Saturday nights could have reports coming from them. But if you want to get updated information about TASS, go to their website, texasastro.org, for updated information about meetings, public observing sessions, and hey, if you have any general questions, here's an FAQ about just different astronomy questions and observing questions. Okay, back to you, Brenda. This is KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz. Next, National Space Society events and activities. Bill, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. What do you have?
Thanks, Brenda. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you have any questions about National Space Society or wish to join, you can send me an email. You can do it to n5bb@arrl.net. That's November 5 Bravo Bravo at arrl.net, or space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net. Either email address works. National Space Society North Texas chapter normally meets on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. We did meet in July at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving on Highway 183, our normal location, for the first time in about a year and a half. But with the increase in cases of COVID, we have canceled the in-person meetings for a while. So our August meeting and I'm sure our September meeting are virtual. Again, if you use that email address I gave you out earlier, if you wish to attend one of our virtual meetings, I'll be glad to send you a login link. Because of the increased COVID-19 things recently, we have not gone out to do in-person events other than Moon Day. So after Moon Day, we resumed to kind of hunkering down, waiting for the COVID-19 situation to get better. Normally, we have multiple events every month at schools and science museums and things of that nature, libraries. So, I think that's it for now. This is N5BB, National Space Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any more check-ins?
KTV Philip, White Rock Lake, KI5 KTV.
Okay, we got KI5 KTV Philip. Welcome to the net. And was it KTV or KTZ? Could you come back with that?
Kilo India 5 Kilo Tango Zulu Philip, White Rock Lake, Kilo India 5 Kilo Tango Zulu.
Sorry, I had a Victor on the end. KI5KT Zulu Philip, welcome to the net. Okay, let's move into our discussion topic of the evening. The title of this is, What is Wormhole Theory? The wormhole theory postulates that a theoretical passage through space-time could create shortcuts for long journeys across the universe. Wormholes are predicted by the theory of general relativity, but be wary, wormholes bring with them the dangers of sudden collapse, high radiation, and dangerous contact with exotic matter. So wormholes were first theorized in 1916, so it wasn't what they were called at the time. While reviewing another physicist's solution to the equations in Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, Austrian physicist Ludwig Flamm realized another solution was possible. He described a white hole, a theoretical time reversal of a black hole. Entrances to both black and white holes could be connected by a space-time conduit. In 1935, Einstein and physicist Nathan Rosen used the theory of general relativity to elaborate on the idea, proposing the existence of bridges through space-time. These bridges connect two different points in space-time, theoretically creating a shortcut that could reduce time travel and distance. The shortcuts came to be called Einstein-Rosen bridges, or wormholes. The whole thing is very hypothetical at this point, said Stephen Sue, a professor of theoretical physics at the University of Oregon. No one thinks we're going to find a live wormhole anytime soon. Wormholes contain two mouths, with a throat connecting the two. The mouth would most likely be spheroidal. Boy, it's hard to say. The throat might be a straight stretch, but it can also wind around, taking a longer path than a more conventional route might require. Einstein's theory of general relativity mathematically predicts the existence of wormholes, but none have been discovered to date. A negative mass wormhole might be spotted by the way its gravity affects light that passes by. Certain solutions of general relativity allow for the existence of wormholes where the mouth of each is a black hole. However, a naturally occurring black hole formed by the collapse of a dying star does not by itself create a wormhole. Science fiction is filled with tales of traveling through wormholes, but the reality of such travel is more complicated, and not just because we've yet to spot one. The first problem is size. Primordial wormholes are predicted to exist on microscopic levels, about 10 to 33 centimeters. However, as the universe expands, it's possible that some may have been stretched to larger sizes. Another problem comes from stability. The predicted Einstein-Rosen wormholes would be useless for travel because they collapse quickly. You would need some very exotic type of matter in order to stabilize a wormhole, said Sue. It is not clear whether such matter exists in the universe, but more recent research found that a wormhole containing exotic matter could stay open and unchanging for longer periods of time. Exotic matter, which should not be confused with dark matter or antimatter, contains negative energy density and a large negative pressure. Such matter has only been seen in the behavior of certain vacuum states as part of quantum field theory. If a wormhole contains sufficient exotic matter, whether naturally occurring or artificially added, it could theoretically be used as a method of sending information or travelers through space. Unfortunately, human journeys through the space tunnels may be challenging. The jury is not in, so we just don't know, physicist Kip Thorne, one of the world's leading authorities on relativity, black holes, and wormholes, told Space.com. But there are very strong indications that wormholes that a human could travel through are forbidden by the laws of physics. That's sad, that's unfortunate, and that's the direction in which things are pointing. Wormholes may not only connect two separate regions within the universe, they can also connect two different universes. Similarly, some scientists have conjectured that if one mouth of a wormhole is moved in a specific manner, it could allow for time travel. You can go into the future or into the past using transversible wormholes, astrophysicist Eric Davis told Live Science, but it won't be easy. It would take a Herculean effort to turn a wormhole into a time machine. It's going to be tough enough to pull off a wormhole. However, British cosmologist Stephen Hawking has argued that such use is not possible. A wormhole is not really a means of going back in time. It's a shortcut, so that something as far away is much closer, said NASA's Eric Christian. Although adding exotic matter to a wormhole might stabilize it to a point that human passengers could travel safely through it, there's still a possibility that the addition of regular matter would be sufficient to destabilize the portal. Today's technology is insufficient to enlarge or stabilize wormholes, even if they could be found. However, scientists continue to explore the concept as a method of space travel with the hope that technology will eventually be able to utilize them. You would need some of super advanced technology, Sue said. Humans won't be doing any of this anytime in the near future. All right, any check-ins?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Kilo 5, Juliet Alpha Lima.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Delta Echo Bravo, Jason and Plano.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richards.
Okay. Let's see. We got KB9 SOK Sean, KG5 Z Mike Golf Joe, then K5 I think it's JAL and I missed the name.
K5JAL Jeffrey Flower Mound.
K5JAL Jeffrey and KF5DEB Jason and AA5AH Robert. Welcome to the net, everybody. All right, next up, it's time for What's Up. Chaz, KF5JHA. Will you please do the honors?
It is my honor. Yes, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics, and I'm the astrophysics lab manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. And we do call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Slide master, please change to slide number 2. Remember that Skynet not only is available on the Dallas repeater 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone, private line tone, of 110.9, but also available to hams across the world via Echolink. We oftentimes have people out of state that are on this net. So most weeks, Skynet also has a video component too. You can find the video links on the w5fc.org website. So with radio, Echolink, and video, I say that Skynet is in 3D. Now Tony, in T5TM, our friend, says we are in 4D because of the element of time. By the way, what goes on in the chat window of Echolink, something about a Ferengi's lobes. I don't know what's going on over there. So what's going on in Echolink and what's being done on the video might not have anything to do with what's being talked about on the air. So to get the full 3D, or rather 4D version of Skynet, you must be monitoring all 3 areas at the same time. Slide master, slide number 3, please. On August 15th, the moon was at its first quarter phase, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. Now, just tomorrow, it looks like it's full right now, but just tomorrow is when the moon will be full. On August the 29th, the moon will be at its apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit which is furthest from the Earth. On August the 30th, the moon will be at its third quarter phase. On September the 6th, the moon will be new. On September the 11th, the moon will be at perigee, which is the point of the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth. And on September 13th, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. Slide number 4, please. Night, and Gus already talked about this before Skynet started. On August 21st, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction in the southeastern evening sky. And in fact, I'm looking out the window, and there they are. Now, Saturn's not too far away. We talked about that as well. But the moon and Jupiter are the ones that are close together. Slide number 5, please. On the night of August the 31st and September the 1st is the Aurigates Meteor Shower maximum. You can see about half a dozen meteors in an hour of watching the sky. We believe this meteor shower is caused by the comet 1911N1, also known as Keith's Comet. Meteor showers are often caused by the debris left behind by comets and asteroids as they make their way through the solar system. Slide number 6, please. On September the 7th, conjunction of the moon and Mars in the western evening sky. This will be happening in very strong twilight. And the very next night, on This is slide number 7, please. On September the 8th, there will be a conjunction of the moon and the planet Mercury in the western evening sky. And again, this will happen in strong twilight. Slide number 8, please. Also on the night of September 8th and 9th, the September Epsilon Perseid meteor shower will be at maximum. You can see about half a dozen meteors in an hour of watching the sky. And again, the best time to watch meteors is in between midnight and dawn, because this is the side of the Earth that is running into the meteoroids. Slide number 9, please. On September the 9th, there's going to be a conjunction of the moon and the planet Venus. That's that bright thing you've been seeing in the western evening sky in the evenings. Spica, the brightest star in Virgo, will be just under the moon and Venus on that night. Slide number 10, please. Now, on August the 8th, just a couple of weeks ago, the star RS Ophiuchus flared from a brightness of around 12th magnitude all the way up to a brightness of magnitude 4.5 in just a few hours. This is not an ordinary thing for any star to do, but this star, or I should say its star system, has been doing this strange thing for a long time. Slide number 11, please. A study of the light curve of RS Ophiuchus by Annie Jump Cannon, and we've talked about her in the past, yielded that the nova had reached a significant increase in light output in 1898, which had been most likely attained a maximum of about 5th magnitude. RS Ophiuchus again flared in 1933, 1958, 1967, 1985, 2006, and now it's done it again in 2021. It may have flared in 1945 while RS Ophiuchus was blocked by the sun's glare. The sun's not too far away from it in its annual path across the sky, so during that time in 1945, it may have flared when we weren't being able to observe it. Slide number 12, please. Now, why does this do this? It seems that there are two stars in this star system. One star has already gone through its end of its evolutionary process and has become a white dwarf. We've talked about how stars evolve on Skynet in the past. A white dwarf star is no longer producing any energy. It is just cooling off. The other star in the system is still an active star with part of its hydrogen flowing into the surface of the white dwarf star. This hydrogen is heated until critical temperature for the thermonuclear reaction to occur, and a runaway process results in an explosion. I've simplified what's going on here, but that's what I wanted to let you know. Slide number 13, please. So 2 weeks ago, on August the 8th, RS Ophiuchus was at a magnitude of 4.5, which is from the city would require a pair of binoculars. Out in the countryside, you could see it with just your 2 eyes. A week ago, RS Ophiuchus was at a magnitude of 6.7, which could be seen with difficulty using binoculars and seen from inside of DFW Metroplex. Tonight, the magnitude is probably around 8th. It was magnitude 7.8 on Thursday when I last looked. The video version of Skynet shows a finder chart of where to look. And if you want to find more details, you can search the internet for RS Ophiuchus, or you can go to the website aavso.org. That stands for the American Association of Variable Star Observers. And we'll talk about Miss Caroline in a little bit, but she was an avid variable star observer for quite some time. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 14, please. Once again, the Task Club meeting will be just in 6 days from now, August the 27th at 7:30 p.m. And the topic's going to be quantum computing and astronomy simulations. It's going to be fascinating by Michael McGugan from the Brookhaven National Laboratory. Again, it's a Zoom meeting, and if you're a Task Club member, you'll get the Zoom link to do that in an email. once again, more information can be found at texasastro.org. Slide number 15, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've given you? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question, or maybe someone else here on the net might know your answer. So come now with your call sign if you have a question.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta.
Golf Lima Delta, please come now with your question.
Yes, sir. I'm looking to get into astronomy, and I'd like to purchase a used telescope, hopefully a Dobsonian type. Is there any site out there that you would recommend? K5GLD.
One of the things I would recommend is you need to do some research to find out exactly if you really want a Dobsonian and what kind of Dobsonian, how large and whatnot. The texasastro.org website actually has a link on there for how to buy a telescope. Now, where to buy one, there's several different places. Astro Mart is a website that actually sells used equipment, and it's usually pretty okay for most people to do that. But being a member of the astronomy club, the local astronomy club, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, their newsletter oftentimes will have different telescopes available. I purchased one from a friend who was a club member that advertised that he had a Dobsonian in the newsletter, and I got that used a few years ago. So that's what I would recommend. Did I answer your question, sir?
Sort of. Where would I get that newsletter? K5GLD.
Okay, it's on the website, texasastro.org. So that's what you can do is just go to that website at the top. The buttons, I think, at the top that says something about calendar, and I think it says newsletter, but that's where you go to get the newsletter. Okay, I hope that helped you out. Slide Master, slide number 16. So as the moon waned at the beginning of August, so do these words for this segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world, because it's the only one where humans live, well, at least for the moment. Until next week, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5, JHA, Chaz, back to our net control. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, space exploration and space history. And tonight we have a substitute teacher, so go easy on him. Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and we'll talk about space exploration news. Chinese astronauts embark on second space station spacewalk. Chinese astronauts Nui Haishen and Liu Boeing embarked on the second Shenzhou 12 spacewalk that last Thursday to carry out work on the space station robotic arm. Shenzhou 12 mission commander Ni opened the hatch of the Tianyi module at 8:38 p.m. Eastern, August 19th, to begin the planned near 7-hour extravehicular activity, the China Manned Space Agency, or CMSA, said. The pair, wearing second-generation Fiat-10, or flying to space extravehicular mobility suits, completed installing foot restraints and an boy, you try and say these multi-syllabic words. Extravehicular working platform to the large robotic arm. Chinese media outlets streamed footage of the EVA. The excursion was supported by astronauts Tong Hong Bo inside Tianyi, the 16.6-meter long, 4.2-meter diameter space station core module, which was launched on April 28. The EVA also included work on a panoramic camera, installing a toolkit, adding a pump set for the Tianyi thermal control system, and other apparatus in preparation for the arrival of 2 further modules in 2022. The EVA was completed at 2:33 a.m. Friday, about an hour ahead of schedule. Shenzhou 12 crew has been aboard Tianyi since 17th. They are expected to return to Earth within a month ahead of the arrival of Shenzhou 3 cargo supply mission. The astronauts have carried out a wide range of activities and experiments in preparation for future missions. Recent work includes installing a refrigeration unit for medical supplies, assembly of a space centrifuge, activating a magnetic levitation experiment, blood sampling, and testing hazardous trace gas removal subsystem. Next is Blue Origin's suit stops work on NASA HLS contract with SpaceX. NASA will stop work on the Human Landing System award to SpaceX through the end of October as federal courts take up a suit filed by Blue Origin protesting the contract. The Court of Federal Claims issued a schedule August 19th for the suit filed by Blue Origin protesting NASA's HLS award to SpaceX. The schedule lays out deadlines for filings to be made by both Blue Origin and the federal government. Defended in the case. Oral arguments in the suit are scheduled for October 14th. The schedule included NASA's voluntary stay of performance that expires November 1st. It appears to indicate that NASA would stop work on the HLS contract less than 3 weeks after Government Accountability Office denied Blue Origin's request, allowing work that had been halted since late April to proceed. NASA has voluntarily paused work on SpaceX for the Human Landing System, Option A, contract effective August 19th through November 1st. In exchange for this temporary stay of work, all parties agreed to an expedited litigation schedule that concludes on November 1st, the agency said in a statement to Space News. NASA officials are continuing to work with the Department of Justice to review the details of the case and look forward to a timely resolution of the matter. Next up, Space Force to establish new command in Colorado focused on training and education. U.S. Space Force on August 23rd will establish the Space Training and Readiness Command at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The ceremony is scheduled on Monday at Peterson's to be presided by the Chief of Space Operations of U.S. Space Force, General John J. Raymond, known as Star Command or STARCOM. What a name. The new organization will oversee doctrine, training, and professional education of Space Force military and civilian personnel and will coordinate basic training and recruiting. STARCOM will be led by Brigadier General Sean Bratton of the National Guard Bureau. Bratton, over the past year, has led the planning task force for STARCOM. He previously served as Deputy Director of Operations of U.S. Space Command. This is the third and final command being stood up by the Space Force. The service last year activated the Space Operations Command at Peterson Space Force Base. The Space Systems Command was established on August 13th in Los Angeles Air Force Base, California. Now, on to birthdays. Let me go ahead and jump to August 15th, 1959, the birth of Scott Douglas Scooter Altman. He had 4 space flights from 1994 to 2010, 51.5 days in space, flew on orbit on STS-90 and STS-106, 109, and 125. 1933 was the birth of Stuart Al or Stu Rusa. Well, interesting. I didn't put in all the cool things about him. American test pilot from 66 to 76, died of viral pneumonia and complication of pancreatitis. 1 space flight, 9 days in space. It flew to orbit on Apollo 14 in 1971. Let's see here. Well, of course, that also means flew to orbit, lunar orbit, by the way. Let's see. We have in 1939 the birth of Valery. Oh boy, Valery Viktorovich Rumin. You say that. He was married to Yelena Kondakova. He spent from 1973 to 98 371 cumulative days in space. Civil engineer. He was on the OKB-4 space flights for 371.7 days in space and flew on Soyuz 25 in 1977, Soyuz 32, 35, and STS-91. August 18, 1954, the birth of Umberto Giordani. He is an Italian physicist, mission specialist, astronaut from 1989 to 2004, 2 space flights, 27.6 days in space, flew to orbit on STS-75 and STS-100. On August 18, 1958, we have another Russian. This is Sergei Yevgenovich Shishkev. He was a Russian engineer cosmonaut from 1992 to 2006, civilian engineer on Energia NPO-1 flight, 184.9 days in space, also flew on STS-111. On August 19, 1935, was the birth of Dr. Franklin Story Musgrave. He's an American physician, mission specialist from 1967 to 1997, flew in space 6 times, six space flights, 53.4 days in space. Flew to orbit on STS-6, 1983, STS-51F, SF, STS-33, 44, 61, and 80. Then we have on August 19th, there's a lot of these people here. This would be the birth of Charles Frank Charlie Bolden Jr. He was on 4 space flights. He's an American test pilot from 1980 to 94, 28.4 days in space. Flew to orbit on STS-61. He's also the 12th administrator head of NASA and the first African American to head NASA on a permanent basis. On August 19, 1959 was the birth of Chris Hadfield. He is a Canadian test pilot mission specialist from 92 to 2013, 3 space flights for 165.7 days in space. Flew STS-74 in 1995, STS-100, and Soyuz TMA-07M. During ISS Expedition 35, he chronicled life on board the space station by taking pictures of the Earth and posting them on various social media platforms. He was a guest on television news and talk shows and gained popularity by playing the ISS's guitar in space. You saw it, Ground Control to Major Tom. That's the one where he plays the guitar. Well, here's another celebrity here, Michael James Massimino. I can never pronounce his name. August 19th, 1962. He had 2 space flights, 23.8 days in space, flew to orbit on STS-109, STS-125. He's best known as one of the astronauts who serviced the Hubble Space Telescope on STS-125 in May of 2009. This was the final visit of the Hubble Space Telescope by the Space Shuttle. He's also the first person to use Twitter from space, writing, "From orbit, launch was awesome. I'm feeling great, working hard, enjoying the magnificent views. The adventure of a lifetime has begun." And this is KE5ICX. Now, this week in space history, I may skip through some of these. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff, and I have a tendency when I do these to put too much stuff in. But August 16, 1961 was the launch of Explorer 12, also known as S3. It was the United States satellite built to measure solar wind, cosmic rays, and Earth magnetic fields. It was launched on August 16th aboard a Thor Delta launch vehicle. Explorer 12 was the first of 4 S3 series spacecraft. It ceased transmitting in December of 1961. On August 17, 1943, this was the launch site of Tiananmen Launch Complex. It was bombed by the Royal Air Force, attacked the Rocket Research Center, causing heavy damage and delaying the weapon program by months. Let's see. At the time, the V-2 development program was already in crisis, and Allies launched massive bombing raids against Tiananmen that evening. Let's see, I'm going to skip that. Let's see, we have the launch in August 17, 1966 of the Pioneer 7 spacecraft. This was the first detailed, comprehensive measurements of solar wind and solar magnetic field and cosmic rays. They're designed to measure large-scale magnetic phenomena and particles and fields in interplanetary space. On August 17, 1970 was the launch of Meteor 7. It was launched. It consisted of an interplanetary bus based on the 3MV system. I don't know what that is, and a lander towards Venus to study the Venetian atmosphere and other phenomena of the planet. Venera 7 entered the atmosphere of Venus on December 17, 1970, and the landing capsule was jettisoned. After aerodynamic braking, a parachute system was deployed. The capsule antenna was extended and signals were returned for 35 minutes. Another 23 minutes of very weak signals were received after the spacecraft landed on Venus. The capsule was the first man-made object to return data after landing on another planet. August 19th, 1960, Korabl Sputnik 2 was the second attempt to launch a Vostok capsule with dogs on board. The first try was 28 July, carrying a pair named Bars, or snow leopard, aka Shaika Seagull, and Usicha Foxy. Had been unsuccessful after a blockade strap-on suffered a fire and breakdown in one of the combustion chambers, followed by a breaking off of booster 19. In other words, the booster kind of broke up. Around 30 seconds, the launch vehicle disintegrated, the corn strap-ons flying in random directions and causing a crash. Flight controllers sent the command to jettison the payload shroud and separate the descent module, but due to low altitude, the parachutes only deployed partially, and the dogs were killed on impact. Now this one isn't a major deal, but I thought I'd do it because it was Skynet 1B was launched. Skynet is a family of military communications satellites now operated by Airbus Defence and Space on behalf of the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defence. They provide strategic and tactical communications services to the branches of the British Armed Forces, the British intelligence agencies, some UK government departments, and agencies and allied governments. Since 2015, when Skynet coverage was extended eastward in conjunction with the Anik G1 satellite module over America. Skynet offers global coverage. Would we expect any less from Skynet? On August 19, 1982 was the launch of Soyuz T-7. This was the third Soviet space mission to the Salyut 7 space station. Crew members Svetlana Savitskaya was the first woman in space in almost 20 years since Valentina Tereshkova, who flew in 1963 on Vostok 6. She was given the orbital module of Soyuz. Was given the orbital module of Soyuz T-7 for privacy. The Soyuz T-7 crew delivered experiments and mail from home to the Ibris crew. On August 21st, the 5 astronauts traded seat liners between the Soyuz Ts. The Dnieper undocked in Soyuz T-5, leaving the newer Soyuz T-7 spacecraft for the long-duration crew. August 21st, 1965, the launch of Gemini 5. This had Pete Conrad and Gordon Cooper on board. It was the third crewed Gemini flight and the 11th crewed American space flight, including 2 X-15 flights above 100 kilometers or 54 nautical miles, and the 19th human space flight of all time. It was also the first time an American crewed space mission held the world record for duration, set on August 26, 1965, by breaking the Soviet Union's previous record set by Vostok 5 in 1963. This record might have been 1 day longer. However, Gemini 5 was cut short due to approach of Hurricane Betsy. And that's it. That's what I have from my long history and birthdays and news. So back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Wow, that was a lot. Thank you very much, Tom. All right, let me find my place here. I've lost it. We're going back to Chaz. Oh, let's take more check-ins now. All right, then. Next, we have Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. And we'll call on Chaz, KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Just to let you know, I've lost my place several times in the past. Slide number 17, please, Mr. Slide Master. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen from Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. And in her honor, we have continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is Lyra, the lyre or harp. Lyra represents a small hand harp called a lyre. You've probably seen pictures of angels holding little harps, and you've seen a picture of a lyre. So if I harp on too much about this constellation, you can just call me a liar. Oh, wait. Slide number 18 is the beginning of the jokes that I usually like to tell. Slide 18, please, Slide Master. So why are harps like elderly parents? Well, both are usually unforgiving and hard to get into and out of cars. That's not even really a joke. That's really a fact, isn't it? How long does a harp stay in tune? About 20 minutes or until somebody opens the door. They are really hard to stay in tune. If you look at somebody that's playing a harp and you watch them before a performance, they are sitting there tuning it up to the last moment usually. Okay, marriage is like playing a harp. It looks easy until you try it. What do you call a cow that plays the harp? This is really an easy one. A musician. Okay, what do you call a successful harpist? A harpist that has a spouse with 2 jobs. All right, so that was the last harp joke for tonight, and I just wanted to string you along, though. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 19, please, Slide Master. There are several interesting stars in Lyra, Vega being the 5th brightest star in the sky. And you know what? If you went outside right now and looked up, it's probably just about overhead. Other interesting stars in Lyra include Zolak and Zeta Lyra and Epsilon Lyra. Epsilon Lyra is a famous double-double star, which is actually 2 pairs of stars. But I'll concentrate on other objects in Lyra tonight. Slide number 20, please, Slide Master. M56 is a globular cluster that gets overlooked by many amateur astronomers. It is an easy target for binoculars as well as telescopes. It was discovered by Charles Messier himself on January 19th, 1779. A pair of 20 by 80 binoculars, you can see it as a faint fuzzball. I've done that several times with my binoculars. An 8-inch or larger telescope at 100 power will resolve some of the outer stars in the cluster. If sky conditions permit, using 200 magnification, then it'll allow you to resolve some of the inner stars in the cluster. Remember that globular clusters are old, forming at the same time as our galaxy, and they roughly have about the same size stars. All the stars in the globular cluster are usually around 1 solar mass in size, about the same size as our sun. Slide number 21, please. M57 is the famous ring nebula. It's the famous object in the constellation of Lyra. It's a planetary nebula. Planetary nebulas have nothing to do with planets, but probably got their names from being round in shape, just like a planet in the telescope. Planetary nebulas are formed at the end of stellar lifetimes of a red giant star. The red giant swells and loses its outer layer, which becomes the round planetary nebula. What is left behind is a faint white dwarf star at the center of the nebula. Talked about white dwarf star earlier when we talked about RS Ophiuchus, didn't we? M57 can be found in a 3-inch telescope, but historically a 6-inch or larger telescope usually has been needed to see the ring nebula shape. It is I've seen it in my 20 by 80 binoculars, but it just looks like a dot. Slide number 22, please. Now, the white dwarf central star of M57 is difficult to see and requires quality optics, high magnification, dark skies, and steady seeing, making it a challenging object. A minimum of a 12-inch aperture telescope is usually required, though some have seen it in a 9 or 10-inch telescopes of high quality. At the 2018 Texas Star Party, a group of past members, myself included, observed the ring nebula along with a number of other objects using a 36-inch telescope at the McDonald Observatory. Using that instrument, we observed the central star of M57 very easily. Slide number 23, please. Just in 2019, the Texas Star Party, the McDonald Observatory made a historic 82-inch auto Struve telescope available for those who signed up for a couple of special viewing nights. Dennis Harwell and myself signed up for the Saturday morning session that went from 2 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. One of the objects, again, we observed was M57, and I'm happy to report the 82-inch telescope aperture turned the central star of M57 from a challenging object into a very easy object to observe. Slide number 24, please. IC1296 is a barred spiral galaxy lying just 5 arc minutes northwest of M57. Now, you have to understand, when you see it's a catalog name, IC, but when it says IC and has a number, it usually means you can't see it because you need some special, usually, equipment to see it. IC1296 was discovered by famous astronomer E.E. Bernard, and we actually talked about E.E. Bernard in a special interest group that meets on Wednesday nights, on the third Wednesday night of the month, called the Observation Special Interest Group, and we talked about him just this past Wednesday, a couple nights ago. This 15th magnitude galaxy was mentioned by the late Walter Scott Houston, author of the Deep Sky Wonders column in Sky and Telescope. Fortunately, due to its proximity to M57, we also got to look at IC1296 during the special observing night with the 82-inch telescope at the 2019 Texas Star Party. Just like it did for the central star of M57, the 82-inch changed IC1296 from a challenging object into a very easy object. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide number 25, please. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Lyra the Harp. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has about 73 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. Slide number 26, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Lyra the Harp. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and I usually steal for every Saturday night. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Next time I'll take a look at, oops, I didn't write down the next constellation. I guess it'll be a surprise to all of us next week. This is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control. Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Chaz. That was fascinating. All right. More check-ins. Please come now. Okay, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. What you got for us?
All right, thank you, Brenda. I'm looking here and I see they didn't update the website, so let me scoot down to flights here. We have August 27th. This will be a launch from Pacific Spaceport Complex on Kodiak Island in Alaska. A commercial small satellite called STP-21AD1. Wow, what a name. Developed by Astro, will launch a test payload for the U.S. Space Force and Space Test Program. On August 28th, there's a Falcon 9 SpaceX CRS-23 mission. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch a Dragon 2 spacecraft on its third cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. The flight is the 23rd mission by SpaceX conducted under the Commercial Resupply Services contract with NASA. And forgive me, I didn't go any further than that because I had some others, but they have already passed or were canceled, so it's pointless to talk about those. So mine is short and sweet. Brenda, back to you. KE5ICX.
Oh, you caught me unprepared. All right, next up, this is WB50ZL, is recent astronomical discoveries. This article is entitled Fast Changes Between Solar System Seasons Resolved by New Sun Clock. Violent activity on our sun leads to some of the most extreme space weather events on Earth, impacting systems such as satellites, communications systems, power distribution, and aviation. The roughly 11-year cycle of solar activity has 3 seasons, each of which affects the space weather felt at Earth differently. 1. Solar maximum. The sun is active and disordered when space weather is stormy and events are irregular. 2. The declining phase, when the sun and solar wind becomes ordered and space weather is more moderate. And 3. Solar minimum, when activity is quiet. In a new study led by the University of Warwick and published in the Astrophysical Journal, scientists found that the change from solar maximum to the declining phase is fast, happening within a few 27-day solar rotations. They also showed that the declining phase is twice as long in even-numbered solar cycles as it is in odd-numbered cycles. No 2 solar cycles are the same in amplitude or duration. To study the solar seasons, the scientists built a sun clock from a daily sunspot number record available since 1818. This maps their regular solar cycles onto a regular clock. The magnetic polarity of the sun reverses after each roughly 11-year solar cycle, giving a roughly 22-year magnetic cycle named after George Ellery Hale. And to explore this, the 22-year clock was constructed. The effect on the space weather at Earth can be tracked back using the longest continuous records of geomagnetic activity over the past 150 years. And once the clock is constructed, it can be used to study multiple observations of seasonal solar activity which affect the Earth. With the greater detail afforded by the sun clock, the scientists could see that the switch from solar maximum to the declining phase is fast, occurring within a few 27-day solar rotations. There's also a clear difference in the duration of the declining phase when the sun's magnetic polarity is up compared to down. In even-numbered cycles, it is around twice as long as odd-numbered cycles. As we are about to enter cycle 25, the scientists anticipate that the next declining phase will be short. Lead author Professor Sandra Chapman of the University of Warwick Department of Physics said, by combining well-known methods in a new way, our clock resolves changes in the sun's climate to within a few solar rotations. then you find the changes between some phases can be really sharp. If you know you've had a long cycle, you know the next one's going to be short. We can estimate how long it's going to last. Knowing the timing of the climate seasons helps to plan for space weather. Operationally, it is useful to know when conditions will be active or quiet for satellites, power grids, and communications. The results also provide a clue to understanding how the sun reverses polarity after each cycle. Professor Chapman adds, I also think it's remarkable that something the size of the sun can flip its magnetic field every 11 years, and going down up is different than going up down. Somehow the sun knows which way up is. This is an intriguing problem at the heart of how the sun generates its magnetic field. All right, that's the end of that. This is from Science Daily and ScienceDaily.com. And let's see, what's next? Let's do check-ins.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David. Mobile, Richardson, Texas.
Okay, Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform. David, welcome to the net. All right, our next segment is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. I'm going to call on Tom, KE5ICX. What do you have for us?
All right, thank you, Ms. Brenda. This is KE5ICX. The International Space Station has made a reappearance now. We have August 23rd, minus 3.6 magnitude at 5:51 a.m. and it reaches highest point at 69 degrees at 5:53. It will fall at 5:57. August 24th, following day, minus 2.5 magnitude, 5:07 a.m. at 34 degrees, so it's coming out of shadow, be it 5:07 at 34 degrees at its highest approach out of the southeast, and it'll fall at 5:10. The August 25th, minus 2.6 magnitude, again in the morning, 5:55, 22 degrees, reaches its highest point at 32 at 5:56, and then falls at 5:59. Then finally we have August 26th. We have, let's see here, minus 2.9 magnitude, again in the morning, 5:10 a.m. at 46 degrees, so it is coming out of shadow almost directly overhead, or partially, well, high above the horizon, 5:10 is its highest point, and it falls at 5:12 to the northeast. Tiangong 1, I'm sorry, not Tiangong, I don't even know, I think it's Tiangong 3, actually, if you really want the truth. August 23rd, it's a 1.2 magnitude at 21:38. It reaches out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point at 66 degrees at 21:41, and then goes into shadow at exactly that time. August 24th, there is a 1.4 magnitude at 20:37, reaches its highest point at 43 degrees at south-southeast at 20:40, and then it falls to the east-northeast at 20:43. Let's see, August 25th, 1.9 magnitude, it'll be out of the west, 21:12. It reaches highest point at 21:15 at 49 degrees, the north-northwest, and it falls at 21:17 at 18 degrees. So that's a nice full pass. Brenda, that's it. There you go. Back to you, KE5ICX.
All righty. Well, we're wrapping it up a little bit early tonight. Do we have time for questions and answers if we have any?
W5GUS question.
Anyone need any fills?
Brenda, I believe Gus had a question.
I'm sorry, I did not hear him. W5GUS. Go ahead, Gus.
W5GUS here. Thanks, Brenda. I'd like to go back to the article the first article you read with the wormholes and the bridges. I know on one thing you were saying that the theory of relativity, you cannot move faster than the speed of light. But then it seems odd that on that article you read there, they were saying that the wormholes, you could get to someplace faster. If you timed it just right, there was a wormhole opening and it was going the right direction, that you could get someplace faster. So like I was thinking, like if you would have you want to go to someplace 1 light year away, so but you had a shortcut and you went through a wormhole and you got there like in 10 months. Well, that seems like that would be moving faster than the speed of light. So I know Einstein said that's impossible, but then he's also saying that the wormholes exist. He called them bridges, I think he mentioned. But anyway, that's the kind of conundrum I'm thinking about. Might be an interesting discussion. W5GUS.
That's a very interesting question. Does anybody have any opinions?
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
N5BB. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, this is N5BB. Gus, you can't go faster than the local speed of light in regular space. So this is a geometry problem. However, the wormholes are not in our regular space. So there's the tube connecting both ends of the wormhole is outside of our space. It's not part of it. So this is like think about the surface of the Earth. If you want to drive somewhere, you can drive at a certain speed along the surface of the Earth. So if there was a continuous land bridge from here to, let's say, Australia, you could drive there continuously. And if you went at a certain rate, a local velocity of the vehicle, it would take a certain amount of time to get there. But if you could bore through the center of the Earth, and there was a hole there, you could theoretically go at that same velocity and get there more rapidly. It's a similar geometric problem, okay, in 5BB.
All right. Anybody else have an opinion?
W5GUS, may I?
Go ahead, Gus. W5GUS.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, Bill. I think the article Brenda read, also, there was someone in there that some scientists mentioned that the wormhole would make it closer. So I can understand that comment. That he said the wormhole would make the destination closer. So with the analogy there with the Earth curved surface versus a boring straight through. Not going faster than light, but the distance is shorter. Interesting. Clever. Wow. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Brenda. W5GUS. That's a great thing. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not ready to jump into a wormhole yet. I'll let somebody else test it. What's interesting is if you Google wormholes and go to images, they don't all look alike. A lot of different concepts about what wormholes would actually look like. So it's interesting. All right, I guess we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back in, I guess, 5-10 minutes. We'll let the boss tell us about that for Afterglow movie. So let me go ahead and wrap this up. Tonight we had 25 hams participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration on this net. The sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5 Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be closing the net at 10:24 local time, returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. Next up, we have our Afterglow movie net, KE5ICX. Want to give us a time on that?
Yeah, Brenda, why don't we come back in about 5 minutes? We'll be back at 10:30 at the stroke of the half hour, 10:30, so about 5 minutes. I'll be looking for net control. If anybody would like to do a net tonight, you know who you are. Come on back, and we'll see if we can get you to check in. So about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 10:30, KE5I6.
normal state. Ham Fixin's Net, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5FC.
Oh, is there anybody out there who would like to be net control for tonight's Afterglow movie net? It's time travel one.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow movie net.
Well, if Hal won't do it, I could do it, Tom, in 5EB.
Bill, that's so nice of you. I hope I can make it through this. I tried to take a nap, but I guess I didn't sleep very long, so I'm a little weary. I will attempt to stick with it all the way through, but be aware, sometimes I fall asleep. So thank you very much. Yes, the net is yours.
Hang on, I generate a log sheet. Hang on. I just had to find a piece of lined paper. And I had to log into Echolink. Okay. This is N5BB. This is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Afterglow Net. Every week on Saturday night, we talk about a movie. It's usually a science fiction movie. And this week, we discussed Time Stalkers, a 1987 made-for-TV movie. And you know what you get when you get a made-for-TV movie. Not necessarily horrible, but typically not top quality. Anyway, Tom, would you like to describe this fine movie? This is N5BB Afterglow Net.
Yeah, I can do that, Bill. Do you want my version or their version?
Whatever. Why don't you pick their version in this case, so we don't confuse people too much.
All right, Bill, that'll give you time to set up. Yep, okay, so I went to my, personal resource, Wikipedia, Time Stalkers from 1987, made for television. It says horror science fiction film. I don't know if there's horror in it. Directed by Michael Schultz, starring William Devine. Yeah, he's the guy that plays Kennedy and everything. He was in last week's movie as the President of the United States, so he gets around. He plays presidents a lot. In 1986, Dr. Scott McKenzie, William Devane, is a college professor and ardent fan of the gunslinger culture of the Old West. A year ago, McKenzie watched his wife and son die in a car crash caused by a drunk driver attempting to flee the police. With his friend, General Joe Brodsky, played by, the guy from Cheers, McKenzie attends an auction of the Wild West memorabilia where they agree to bid on a pair of steamer trunks and split the contents between them. The auction is conducted. Flashbacks show the item's histories from the 19th century. At the time, a man, Joseph Cole, is looking for a gunslinger who has a pair of distinctive ebony-handled pistols marked with stars. No, it's not George S. Patton. Some cowboys he encounters on the road point him towards the town of Crossfire, California. At the town saloon, he inquires about a man, but is harassed by a trio of local thugs, one of whom shoots him, hitting instead one of the trucks which Dr. Mackenzie is bidding on, in the present. Cole quickly shoots all three men dead, an event memorialized by a local photographer. In the present, Mackenzie and Brodsky win the trunks at auction. Mackenzie begins sorting through the contents, noting the picture of the man who Cole killed. Under photo enhancement, Mackenzie notices Cole is in the background of the picture and identifies the gun Cole is carrying as a .357 Magnum from the 1980s. Despite this, chemical and spectroscopic testing indicates that the photograph is at least 100 years old. Mackenzie becomes convinced that Cole is a time traveler. After writing up his findings, he's approached by a woman, Georgia Crawford, who claims to be working on similar ideas. Together, they locate Crossfire in the present. When they split up to search the town, Georgia ducks into an old barn and removes a crystalline device, which she uses to travel back to the 1880s. There, she searches for Cole at a nearby river, but her horse is spooked by a rattlesnake. She dispatches the snake with a futuristic gun. Hurrying back to town, she is followed by Cole, who had observed her from afar. He arrives too late to stop her from traveling to the present. He uses a device for his own to find out the time to which she traveled. In the present, Mackenzie hears a voice and arrives at the barn just in time to see Georgia return from the past. When he confronts her, she admits being one of a number of time travelers from the 26th century. Returning to Mackenzie's home, she explains that Cole is a renegade scientist, yeah, they always are, from her time, who she said has been sent back to stop. She believes that Cole, who developed the time travel technology with her father, is intending to change history. Through research, Georgia and Mackenzie determined that Cole is likely trying to kill Matthew Crawford, an advisor to the President Grover Cleveland. Last paragraph. The gunfighter who Cole is searching for, the mysterious star-handled stranger, was a gunslinger who crucially helped protect the president and his escort from bandits. Matthew Crawford was George's ancestor, and killing him would erase her entire family from history, including her father, who had opposed Cole's desire to continue research on time travel. Mackenzie and Georgia enlist Joe Brodsky's help in determining President Cleveland's movements, but before Brodsky can give them the information, Cole murders him and flees into the past. Finding a copy of the information, they discover, anybody got a nosebleed yet? They discover that Cole is traveling back to July 11th, 1886, when the mysterious star-handled stranger helped save President Cleveland from the bandit attack. Traveling back in time to 1886, Georgia Mackenzie watches the attack happens. When the stranger arrives on the scene and tries to enter the attack, he is shot dead by Cole. Mackenzie then takes the stranger's signature pistols and rides toward the battle himself. Cole follows him. While Mackenzie manages to kill the attacking bandits, Cole shoots Matthew Crawford. Mackenzie then kills Cole in a one-to-one duel. Returning to the stagecoach, George and Mackenzie discover that Matthew Crawford was merely wounded. As the stagecoach drives off, Georgia and Mackenzie return to the present, where Georgia gives them a gift before returning to her own time. She's somehow able to send the knowledge of the death of Mackenzie's wife and child back to his earlier self, so he's able to save their lives. Okay, back to net control. This is KE5ICX. Please check me in.
Very good, Tom. This is N5BB. Afterglow net control. You are checked in, Tom. Okay, who else would like to check in for Afterglow net? We're going to first do RF check-ins, and then I'll do Echolink in a moment. So RF check-ins for Echolink. Please come down with your call sign, name, and location. This is N5BB, Afterglow net.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda DeSoto.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing, Brenda. Please, when you check in, tell us whether you saw the net. Did you see it, Brenda?
Yes, I did, and I stayed awake. Yay.
Very good. I confirm. Any other check-ins?
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J. Weber. I did not see it, but I have this feeling I have seen it. I actually did watch it a little bit of it, but I got bored in the middle, so I didn't see it. KG5 BDW.
Okay, Jay, you're extremely noisy. I understood that you did not see it, but you said something else which wasn't clear. You're checked into Echolink, but you must have been on RF. Do we have anybody else that would like to check in via RF on AftergloNet? This is N5BB.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas. No, I didn't see it. Just listening.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8WWR, mobile, I'm in Capel. Did not see it, I'm just in and out for the count.
Kilo India 5, Quebec Delta Alpha, in Rat. I didn't see it, but I'm looking at the Facebook description and I want to see it. I'll be listening.
Okay, please stand by here. The last station, I did not get your complete call sign and name.
Kilo India 5, Quebec Delta Alpha. Dan, Rat. Didn't see it, read the synopsis, and want to see it.
Very good. I acknowledge K0FER Chris, N8WWR Romy, and KI5QDA Dan. You 3 and Jay did not see the movie. Do we have anybody else that wants to check into the AftergloNet via RF? The movie is Time Stalkers. This is N5BB, net control. Go ahead.
Kilo Charlie 6, Zulu Oscar Foxtrot, Doug in Capel, and no, I did not see it.
Did not see the traffic. Did not see the movie. No other traffic. I'm going to listen.
Okay, please stand by. There's a double. Please confirm Kilo Charlie 6, Zulu Alpha, Kilo Charlie 6, Zulu Oscar Foxtrot. Doug, you did not see the movie, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm sorry somebody stepped on me or I stepped on somebody and you were able to pick it out, so that's really good on your end. But no, I did not see the movie. I'm just listening.
Thanks, Doug. And tell me again your location.
That would be Capel.
Very good. North of me, I'm in Irving. Who is the other station that doubled with Doug? Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Bill, AI5DY, Alpha India 5 Delta Yankee. Bill, did not see the movie, going to listen. Apologies there, Doug.
Okay, Bill, where are you located?
Oh, I'm sorry, Garland.
Gotcha, Bill. I recognize AI5DY. Do we have any other RF check-ins for AftergloNet? This is N5BB, net control.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see the movie.
And I recognize KB9SOK. Sean did see the movie. Okay, are there any other RF check-ins? Now let's go to Echolink. I see Jay and Tom. Renee, KG5SXE. Renee, did you want to check into the net? If so, please come now via voice, or you can come in by texting on the Echolink. So Renee, where are you located? And do you want to check into the Afterglow net? And did you see the movie? Go ahead, Renee. Nothing heard and no Echolink text. So right now, please confirm the only stations currently checked into the net that actually saw the movie were N5BB, KE5ICX, WB5OZL, and KB9SOK. Is that correct? Did I miss anyone that saw the movie? Or are there any late check-ins to Afterglow.net? This is N5BB. Go ahead. Well, with only 4 stations that saw it, this may be very quick tonight. So, first we're going to talk about plot, and I am going to go backwards. So, Sean, KB9SOK, what did you think about this plot, the plot of Time Stalkers, this 1987 made-for-TV movie? Please go ahead, Sean. Talk about the plot. This is N5BB, Afterglow.net.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, for a TV-made movie, it started out promising. It kind of classic 80s, first of all. But it started out not too bad. It seemed like it was going down a reasonable path with as far as the time travel, not really doing any what the classic screw-ups until the very end, which I found disappointing. At places it did move a little slow on some of the scenes, but like I said, all in all, went bad to the very end, and I was disappointed with that part. The especially the very ending, because up to that point they pretty much followed the basic rules. But the part that I really didn't understand was how, basically he magically knew what was going to happen with his family when they went back in time. Because that part just didn't seem to make sense to me. Because she just couldn't break any rules, but, if she took him back in time, there would have been 2 of them. So did he kill off his other self, or exactly how did that work? Because she had a device that could travel in time, but I don't think that she ever made a mention that she could mentally put images in people's heads in a different time zone. So that part seemed like a major flaw. They could have easily just simply had her go back and warn them or something along those lines. That would have made much more sense, and that wouldn't have been. But I don't know if they were just running out of time and decided just to kind of finish things up. And then the other odd thing is when they're towards the end, once they basically protected the president and went back to the current time, there was 2 dead cops in his house. There seemed to be no mention of the police. His friend was killed, and the Army surely would have investigated. They knew he was there visiting, and they would have had cameras everywhere and seen him running around with his friend's gun. So that part they weren't very, very clean with at all. And all in all, he didn't seem that majorly upset about losing his best friend. I don't know. It just, like I said, the ending for me was weak. It was okay up to that point. I was able to stay awake. Went too bad for an 80s movie, but yeah, the ending fell a little short for me. That's all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Very good, Sean. Good comments. Next, Brenda, WB5OZL. You saw the movie. What did you think about the plot, Brenda? This is N5BB.
This is WB5OZL. Well, for a while I thought it just wasn't going to go anywhere. It was very confusing, and then they began to wrap it up and make more sense. All time travel movies are messy. I don't know how you bring back the dead without some kind of repercussions, or the whole thing has changed. Now it's brought his wife and kid back. Does that mean none of this other stuff ever happened? It's that's the problem with time travel. And I don't understand why the bad guy didn't just go kill the guy that he wanted to kill instead of going back so far. That was a lot of work to try and go back and kill this guy's ancestor. And like all time travel problems, if he killed him, that would have the ripples would have gone out, other people would have not existed, and changing the timeline like that is extremely dangerous. But they didn't deal with that. But I liked the movie as a whole. The acting was good, and the story was okay enough to carry along. So I never lost interest. I stayed awake, watched the whole thing, and was, wanting to see what happened next. So I guess that, makes it a good movie, I guess. All righty, back to net, WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. Some more good comments. Tom, KE5ICX, are you still awake? This is N5BB. The plot, I say, the plot.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Thank you. I'm still awake, barely, but yes, I did fall asleep during this movie last night, so I'm prone to fall asleep during really good films, I guess, or whatever they really are. I have a tendency to agree with Brenda, and that is that what is it about future time travelers that makes them so frickin' stupid? The 26th century, you'd think they would be, a little smarter than that. And she mentions also about having to go back, to the 1880s to fix this. Nah, just kill the guy when he's a baby in the 26th century. But then we wouldn't be able to go to these nifty, cool, Wild West, the cosplay things that they do. And I just kept waiting for the guy to come busting out of the upper window of the hotel, saloon thing, and all of that, all the usual stuff that goes along with it. I thought, at the beginning, the film kind of started out rather interestingly in the fact that they've got a photograph and they realize that there's something tangible from the future, the 1980s. Now, why you use the Magnum, I don't know, but that seemed a little odd to me as well. But what the heck? It had to be something recognizable. Let's see. Let me think. I guess the idea of the flashbacks and showing what happened to the trunks was kind of interesting, and it showed some continuity as far as what would happen and the characters we would meet and all of that. But it sort of that was unusual. I think the time travel movies generally don't do a flashback per se, although a few of them have. Television shows have done it in the past occasionally. I think Odyssey 5 was one of those, which I kind of liked in that. And I'll go ahead and diverge because I thought that was a better series than this movie. But what they would do is they would start out and they would show a slightly faded scene of opening up with something happening, somebody robbing a bank or whatever, and how it ended, and one of the characters would die on the spot and on the floor of the bank, and then they would go with a full color rendition, and they would go through and scene by scene, and it looked almost the same, except the guy doesn't die. He somehow survives, or, that sort of thing. And that makes it really interesting because then you're going, okay, well, time has changed, and that is a time travel type show. If you ever get a chance, watch it. It's pretty good, even though it only lasted one season. God, I think that thing's about 20 years old now. In any case, so with this and them and this movie, I don't know. The time travel thing gets convoluted. It starts out really interesting. I like the idea that they sign up, although I don't understand how this guy can get on the base and use all the stuff without even a mention, but it was the 1980s. Although now that I think about it, I was waved on bases before when I was working for Xerox as a technician. I had a sticker for student parking at a local college, and it was yellow and white. And that year, the DOD stickers were exactly the same color and same dimension, and they just waved me on the base. I didn't have to stop or sign in or anything. That was pretty cool. It only lasted a year, though. So maybe they are really terrible about security. Could be. By the way, how does this guy, how does Mackenzie end up with lots and lots of money? He has this fancy car. He's got that barn thing with all the stuff in it and everything else. What's he doing? Shilling, Old West stuff to other people on eBay. Oh, it's before eBay. But if he's a time traveler, well, he did eventually become a time traveler. He could pick it all up at bargain basement prices in the 1980s, take them to 2021, sell them for lots of money, but ask for old money, and then take them back to the 1980s again. Now, that would be something. And you notice what I'm doing? I'm trying to fill out time because I don't have a lot to say about the plot in this particular film. And Klaus Kinski, played by Joseph, who played Joseph Cole. I don't know. He was annoying. He really was annoying. I didn't like him. I liked his accent. That was nice. But geez, how does that all play out, I guess? I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about it. Why a 357 Magnum? Why? Well, because it had to be recognizable for 80s audiences. Okay, I'm answering my own questions and talking to myself, and everybody's turned their radios off. Back to that control. This is KE5ICX.
Very good there, Tom. This is N5BB Afterglow.net. We're talking about the 1987 made-for-TV movie Time Stalkers, which is a time travel science fiction movie. By the way, Renee, KG5SXC, is listening on Echolink, but Renee's having trouble with the microphone. Renee is down in Houston, so Renee is just listening tonight. I don't know if it's a she or he, Renee. Okay, so it's my turn. This is N5BB Net Control. The plot. I agree with the earlier comments from other people. It started off and it looked like it might turn out to be reasonable. And then near the end, the time travel part of it, they just kind of barged right through the last couple of scenes without any explanation. And I thought it was like it was time for a commercial, time to close off the made-for-TV movie. The whole look of the whole thing was your standard made in California stuff from the 80s. You remember Mannix? By the way, it plays late at night on MeTV, I believe, one of the local channels. And it looks very similar to Mannix. It's just everything was very similar to what that looks like. TV show from back then. A number of things bothered me. So, of them was, this movie came out in 87, so it's kind of like they were intending the action to occur the modern action to occur in 1986. Why did they go back exactly 100 years to 1886? Why did Georgia come from exactly 600 years in the future, 2586? Or conversely, I could ask, why did the people in 2586 go back, 700 years? So they didn't just go back to somebody's great-grandparents. They went back 700 years. And by the way, I don't think he would be able to drive, that Klaus Kinsey, the Dr. Joseph Cole character, would he be able to drive a car and do other things, drive a vehicle and do other stuff, if he went back 700 years? I mean, if we took one of you and took you back 700 years, do you really think you would know how to drive an ox cart and how to, take care of a horse and fix it up? And, well, some of you might, but in general, most of you wouldn't. And do a lot of other things than you knew how to do back then. I don't think that's reasonable. And I don't understand why the even years, like exactly 100 years before the movie was made or taking place, and exactly 600 years in the future. A few other things. Early in the movie, when there was the crash and the policeman came out, they didn't have a fire extinguisher. I don't know. My guess is in 1986 or whatever, that the policeman would have had a fire extinguisher in the back of their vehicle, and the first thing they would have done is pull out the fire extinguisher and come running with them. I thought that's what all policemen did in case of an auto accident like that.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, can I play a cockamamie devil's advocate here?
Okay, I was just breaking so that the repeater wouldn't time out, but go right ahead, Chris.
Sorry to interrupt you, but thank you. So, about your 400, 600-year dilemma, maybe time machines in the 2600s can only move you to time periods that are kind of resonant, and that happens to be on a base 10 system instead of something that would make more sense, like logarithm. As far as being able to drive a car, several hundred years in the past, well, we do have YouTube today, and there are people on that still practice ancient-esque arts of medieval sword play and horse riding and other stuff. So, I don't know, just playing devil's advocate. K0 FER.
Okay, Chris, I understand your points. I still have real trouble with the years. There's also the time travel dilemma. The people 600 years in the future, in 2586, he saw the paper that Scott McKenzie wrote, and that's why he knew to go back exactly 700 years to 1886. So Scott McKenzie, of course, could only write the paper after he had seen the old tintype or whatever with the photograph. So there's a contradiction right there, and it's hurting my head to think about how, what set up that time thing. But that makes no sense, because the guy that was going back in time, he went back various other times. Remember, he went back just before the base was built. He went back like 50 years or something. And the same thing happened at the end. Georgia went back just a period of maybe locally days or something. No, not days, but a few years to get before the car crash. So, anyway, that doesn't hold water. Anyway, let me continue with my comments. This is N5BB Afterglow. I did not understand the lightning or spark flashback thing. So I understand that when they actually did the time travel, they had some kind of discharge and everything. Okay, that's okay. It's science fiction. But what I didn't understand is early in the movie, when they were in the auction facility, why was there arcing things appearing to our eyes, blending off the knife and the other objects, and then suddenly we were transported back into time? There was no real time travel happening. So, to me, we can talk about this in special effects, I guess, but to me, that was a very odd way of doing the flashback that was rather meaningless. Okay? Then, as somebody else pointed out, I think the acting by Klaus Kinski in some parts was way over the top. He was yelling and screaming. He was killing people right and left for no reason, really. Just crazy. And I don't know. That was a little bit over the top. Let's see. Also, he was Dr. Joseph Cole, the Klaus Kinski. It was too good a shot. He killed bunches of people, policemen and everything, on one shot. Bam, bam, bam. That doesn't seem very realistic to me. I don't understand that. And then, just like Tom said, there was no security badges. Did you notice? They seemed like some kind of secure government lab run by some other company. And you would think that the people would be walking around with security badges, with some kind of badge access of some kind, even back in 1986. And they would have something they would have to show to prove their credentials when they came into the facility. But no, they waved him through, and I don't know. Something about that looked to me like they didn't research it very well. And then, just like Sean commented early on in the net, how did Georgia change the what happened leading up to the crash sequence? Dr. McKenzie was walking back to his house, and suddenly turned around and yelled and ran for the car. What was that all about? We didn't see him change to be a different person, and it wasn't clear. None of that was clear. So I was unhappy. Let's put it that way. Plot holes. With time travel, they usually try to do a little bit of explanation or something, but here they just blindly forgot those things. Okay, so does anybody else that did not see the movie want to check in to, or make any comments about the plot? So Jay or Chris or Romy or Dan or Doug or Bill, do any of you want to make any comments about the plot? If so, please come now with your call sign only. This is N5BB.
Kilo Charlie 6 Zulu Oscar Foxtrot. I'd just like to kind of put in my thoughts about what time travel would entail in reality, but I'm sure movies are not the same as the way I think.
Yeah, Doug, we could all comment on that, and if we did, this net would last an additional hour. So, I'm sorry, but let's just move ahead with what really happened in the movie, and things about that. Otherwise, I think we're all going to time out here. Tom's going to go to sleep, and the rest of us will too. Does anybody else have any comments directly about the plot of this movie, Time Stalkers? This is N5BB, net control for Afterglow.
We'll go Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
Hey, Jay, go ahead with your comments. This is N5BB.
This is KG5BZW, and I'm sorry, the radio on in the background is causing some issues here. I have this weird feeling that I have seen this maybe back originally when it was on TV, and that's why I had commented earlier that you couldn't hear. This is, man, this might have been the movie that made me hate time travel movies. I don't know. It's always. I agree with the other comments that it seemed to have a kind of interesting start, but then I actually got bored with it right when they were. The next time traveler was introduced, and it was like, okay, this is going to get really silly. So anyway, I'm wasting time. KG5BZW.
Okay. Any other last comments about the plot before we move on to characterization? This is N5BB, AfterglowNet. Okay, Sean, KB9SOK. We're now talking about characterization, maybe directing, which is kind of related to the characterization, and acting. So what did you think about the characterization? The characters, the acting, direction, the writing of the characters. What did you think about that in Time Stalkers? This is N5BB. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, the acting was good. All these, several of them have been in a lot of TV shows, and I'd say just okay to good. Obviously, as already been commented, the bad guy traveling back in time, I can't think of his real name. Yeah, he really did a horrible job, actually, and I don't know if it was written that way for him to be so over the top, but I'd have to think that, I mean, even just if he's that brilliant of a scientist that could help build a time machine, I just don't think he'd be that irrational. It just doesn't seem to make sense at all, and especially, just for the glory of it and wanting to use it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense at all that he would act that way. But once again, I'm sure it's written that way. I just, that was the character, it bugged me as well, as the most. The rest of them were, played their parts pretty typical. The good guy was good, and then the scientist coming back in time to help, obviously, was the same. But all in all, not really a lot to say. There wasn't a lot of character development here. It was all, just like a little short story, almost. A very simple plot. So there wasn't a whole lot there as far as development. Just, once again, kind of that classic 80s type film, the T. So, yeah, not a lot there really in characterization that, and I think it's all been pretty well covered. I liked a lot of the comments that were made about it, and things that I'd missed and forgot to mention. And Anyway, that's all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Thanks, Sean. Brenda, WB50ZL, it's your turn now. Talk about characterization, acting, direction, stuff like that. N5BB. Take it away, Brenda.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I'd watch William Devane read out of the phone book or sell gold. He's such a good actor, and he's had so many parts, just iconic parts. He always plays the Kennedys. Anyway, he's fun to watch because he's such a good actor. The woman, just something about her to me was just a little odd, and I couldn't quite warm up to her. And of course, John Ratzenberger, I love him. He was great. On the whole, I thought everybody was cast pretty well, but except Cole is disturbing and just not fun to watch at all. Let's see. Well, you know what? That's all I have. I'm going to stop there. WB50ZL.
Very good, Brenda. Yeah, it was a made-for-TV movie, so some of this stuff, there's just not a lot there. Okay, Tom, K5ICX. Wake up, Tom. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Wake up. Time for you, Tom. We're talking about characterization, direction, how the characters were the actors, etc. Characterization. Take it away, Tom. This is N5BB.
Oh, thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX. I'm desperately going through 2 TV reviews from the New York Times, and the other one is from the Chicago Tribune, trying to figure out, and they both say the same things, characters are sort of mediocre, but okay. We got Scott McKenzie, played by William Devane, doing his thing. Oh, he was in Knots Landing, by the way, in case you wanted to know. As the college professor and really, a good guy. And I think that, and we mentioned this in the plot, too, if his wife and daughter had not died, or wife and son had not died, then none of this stuff probably would have happened because he wouldn't have gotten the chest drawers, stuff, all that stuff. And so that's that confusing part about the time travel part. So back to Scott himself. He's an interesting character. He's all right. But the thing about it is that he says, okay, I saw this tintype, which, by the way, is based on a story written by a guy named, who the hell was it? I don't know. Some guy in science fiction I've never heard of before, but at any rate, he had written the story. I'd like to read the story and see if it was any better than the movie. He suddenly builds up this whole idea of going, back in time, and he's really good at it. What does he know? I don't know what he knows. Did it come after the fact, before the fact? I don't know. It was like taking somewhere in time and just saying, all I have to do is believe it, and I'm there. Click 3 times, and you're in the past. So, I don't know. Of course, he had help with the gal from the 26th century and beyond. Now, the one thing is the Klaus Kinski, the Dr. Joseph Cole character, this guy apparently appeared in a lot of the old spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood, basically playing the same character in the long coat thing and being a really evil guy. I kept racking my brain trying to think, where have I seen this guy? Where have I seen this guy? And apparently it was the old spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood is where I've seen this guy, but I put him out of my head. He probably even brought his own clothes to be on set, had them dry cleaned, and then took them back home because of what he was wearing. Let's see here. Brilliant, dangerous physicist Cole. This is from one of the Chicago Tribune thing. When he's not busy sneering and delivering his lines in a glum monotone, walks around gunning people down while barely mussing his long tan coat and the kung fu style slouch hat. The movie, in fact, is a veritable rags-a-rama, with Mackenzie wearing everything from Bat Masterson garb to Indian headbands and Georgia prancing around a good deal of the time in the post-Civil War cavalry uniform. According to the muddle plot, Cole helped invent a crystal that conquers time and now, of course, intends to use it for his own evil purposes by transporting himself to 1886 and altering the course of history. He is also out to destroy the man who stood in his way, and he puts that in quotes, George's father. Well, considering the fact that I kind of fell asleep through most of that part, that actually helps fill in the blanks for me. He was just shooting everybody down. Now that I remember it, that's exactly what he was doing. What's the motivation there? Why do you want to kill people? I mean, really, in the end, is he that cold-hearted? Is the 26th century that bad? But if you have a time travel machine, if you kill somebody, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The gun went off accidentally. I'm going to go back 5 minutes earlier, you'll be alive again. And there'll be two of me, which turns into Primer all over again. That's another thing, too, is if you go back in time, is it just him? How could it be just him? Couldn't it be two of him? Could there be multiverse? We were talking about that earlier. I don't know. It's just very confusing. And now that we got quantum mechanics to deal with and the possibility of infinite versions of ourselves, does it really matter? All we have to do is do a slide into another galactic plane, another verse, and everything will be fine. That would be nice. You know, I would like that with Lost in Space. If they had not gone really bad in the second and third season, it would have been really great to continue on and do it. Oh, we did that, and it's coming back. Never mind, we moved into another verse, but I digress. Back to net control. This is KE5I6.
Okay, Tom, this is Inside BB. Okay, it's time for my comments about the characterization. Again, this is the Afterglow net on the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, 146.88 repeater in Dallas, Texas. And we're talking about Time Stalkers, a 1987 made-for-TV movie. So let's see, the major characters. Scott McKenzie, the university professor, was William Devane, and I agree with the comments. He did a normal William Devane acting thing, and it was reasonable, and he was a very sympathetic character, let's put it that way. I mean, how could you not feel sorry for him with his family died in a freak accident there? Georgia Crawford, coming back from the future, was Lauren Hutton. Now, you young whippersnappers here probably have no idea who Lauren Hutton is. By the way, she's about 10 years older than me. Lauren Hutton was a rather famous model. And one thing she was famous for is, just like David Letterman, she had a gap between her two middle teeth that she did not fix for a long time. But she was her face was on the front of many magazines, and she also was in various things. When she first got into movies, it looked like she might turn into a serious actress, but then things sputtered, and she started doing TV and made-for-TV movies and B-movies and things like that. So she was around, acting for a long, long time. So that's Lauren Hutton, which is a very recognizable face if you were from that era, which I was. Since I was, when this movie came out was the year I moved from Austin to Dallas. And I'd been out of college for 11 years. So, yeah, I definitely remember Lauren Hutton and William Devane. Klaus Kinski was in all kinds of things. Normally he was a villain, and they were normally action kinds of movies. And so he's in a lot of different things, and he's normally playing a bad guy. He's got his long, kind of whitish blonde hair, and he looks rather ragged, and he's doing dastardly, nasty things. He's a real Dr. Evil. And so he played himself doing that. I think he was over the top, though. And there's no other characters in the movie that were of any importance, except for maybe, what's his name, the military guy that was the good friend of Scott McKenzie. And I agree with the other comment made by somebody, I think it was Sean, that when he was killed, Scott didn't seem to react very much. I mean, he was doing things around the body, but he didn't seem to have a lot of tears there, and he wasn't even calling for the EMT, for paramedics or anything. He wasn't even calling for medical help. I mean, he was shot. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to immediately die. I mean, unless you're shot right to the head or something. And so, I don't know. A lot of holes in the plots and the way the characters did things. That's all my comments. Okay, next, do we have any comments by the people that did not see the movie about the characterization? Any comments from the rest of you? Jay, Chris, Romy, Dan, Doug, and Bill. Or on Echolink by Renee, who is a he. This is N5BB. Any comments from you guys? If so, please give your call sign only so I can recognize you. Nothing heard. I think we're winding down here. The last section here, let's talk about everything else. Let's talk about special effects. Let's talk about music. Was there any music? Let's talk about quality of the production, clothing, anything else you want to talk about, including time travel. So anything else you want to talk about before we close the net, this is your last chance, because I think we've talked everything else out. So let's start with Sean, KB9SOK. What's your final comments, Sean? This is Inside BB.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, the special effects, there wasn't much there, but once again, it was a made-for-TV movie. Yeah, the little, as I think as even you, Bill, it said, the little sparkling effects to show the flashbacks weren't really necessary. But a lot of that was typical in the 80 TV shows. They loved, they just started getting the ability to do the graphic overlays and, the digital titles and they get the overlays, basic special effects, and sometimes they way overutilized that back in the 80s because they thought it was cool because they had these new toys. And sometimes it was neat, but sometimes it just wasn't necessary, and that was definitely one of those times. The beginning of the intro, at the very beginning of the movie, they had the title coming through showing you who's in the movie. It looks like they had that typical Doctor Who traveling through time where it looks like you're going through space and there's colors going all around you. And obviously the person might have been a fan of Doctor Who and decided to steal that and utilize it. And also too, when they were actually time traveling, they kind of did the same thing. They showed you, I guess it's supposed to be some kind of time vortex or something over their head, and pretty basic, pretty corny. Now, as far as the sets and stuff, there wasn't a lot there, really. We basically had a river. We had one little town that I'm sure it was just a tourist trap somewhere in California. It looked like, as someone else mentioned. You can tell this is definitely just all filmed there in Hollywood. So not a whole lot there. Yes, the guy had a really nice place, which looked like it was in town or in a suburb. And one hot thing was when they showed him shooting. Typically, you can't usually do that in town. So that seemed a little weird that, they kind of showed he had a lot of property, but yet he didn't. It looked like he was on a regular suburb street. So that was a little strange. But yeah, not a lot to say in special effects. There wasn't much for music that I can remember. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes when you don't hear the music or some of the sound stuff, that means it truly blended in. I don't really remember much along those lines. So I'm not sure if there was any at all or just it blended in really well. Not a whole lot of sense about this movie. Once again, it's made for TV. I guess back in the 80s, I don't remember watching this. I may have. Because especially as time travel, I'm surprised that I didn't see it back in then. But it definitely didn't ring a bell when I watched it. So, for back in the 80s, for free, I probably would have watched it and thought, it's okay. But yeah, it definitely doesn't hold up to today's standards. But it's by far not the worst thing we've seen. So, there you go. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Very good, Sean. Brenda, what do you think for final comments about anything? This is N5BB, Afterglow Net. Go ahead, Brenda.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I'm on a quest. I'm going to find a time travel show that makes sense. Excuse me, this one wasn't it. But we're going to keep looking. There's got to be one out there somewhere, and we're going to keep trying. If we have to watch every time travel show in the universe, we're going to keep going. Final thoughts. Well, I'm glad they didn't do a sequel. I just don't have anything really brilliant to say at this point. I'm going to quit. WB50ZL.
Very good, Brenda. Tom, your final comments. This is N5BB. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, thank you, Bill. I don't have a lot to say. However, I did look in the reviews, and there was one of these, Western time travel things from 1986 called The Outlaws with Chuck Napier. Now, you do know that I was the president of the Chuck Napier fan club. And, Chuck never knew that, of course. But the reason I decided to do that is I needed to defend his career because he made really bad movie and television choices, not the least of which is The Outlaws. You may remember him as the singing space hippie in Star Trek, which is where I decided to become his butt, even though he didn't know it. So he stars in The Outlaws, and it is available on YouTube. And I don't know, I am desperately trying to find our movie because I was going to do Terminator Salvation, but it's been pulled, so it's no longer in rotation. So I'm still working on it. Keep vamping, and I'll figure out what next week's movie will be. So, was this okay movie? Yeah, it was okay. Time travel traps, as always. That's always a problem with with everything that happens. Duplicate people, changing history, what happens. We've done butterfly effect. We've done all these different primer, which is a perfect example of how you take time travel to the absurd. But if you take it seriously, you could do that. These are the things that ending time at the very end and the family alive and all that. No, I don't think so. Maybe that's why time zero is always going into the future, since we can't seem to find a way back. Oh, one more comment on that. They've done a study, I think the University of Michigan or somebody did a study on trying to find out if time travelers have been here by checking to see if people doing searches or aliens or whatever, getting on a computer and typing on a keyboard and inquiring about future events that occur. So far, they've not been able to find any. So there's been no travelers from the 26th century doing stupid things as far as we know. We have people in the 21st century doing stupid things, but that's in our current time. So no tourists asking things, although there have been several times I wanted to run into a bar and ask, what day is it? What time is it? And they tell you it's at 12:30 or it's 10 o'clock. No, what year and what date? I don't care about the time. And they'll tell you, and then you turn around and you run out the door. I gotta fix this before bad things happen, and then run out the door. Just wondering what might happen. Just thinking out loud, which is always a bad thing to do, particularly on the radio. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Okay, Tom. So you used to be able, decades ago, you could walk out on the sidewalk if you were downtown, and you could see the newspapers and the little machines where you could drop a quarter in or whatever it was and pull out a newspaper. Or you didn't have to do that. You could just look at the newspaper and see what the date was. But who looks at a printed newspaper anymore? Where can you find one? So that doesn't work. In fact, even turning on the TV, it's not showing what year it is or even what month it is. Normally just... I don't know if there's a channel that shows you the current year. Maybe there is. Some weather channel or something. Some channel with a test pattern on it. This is N5BB. Okay, well, let's see. I was going to make some other comments, and I've already forgotten them, so I guess they weren't important. The whole problem with time travel is, of course, there's paradoxes. And most of these movies just totally ignore them. They just blast right through with whatever plot they want to put up there and ignore paradoxes and loops and things like that. Or if they talk about them, they talk about them in a way which isn't complete. They fool you into thinking that they're talking about them completely. In this case, they didn't even bother. So, Georgia didn't seem to be that worried. I mean, she didn't seem to me to be physically, emotionally distraught that the guy was trying to kill her great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, which would mean that she would cease to exist. She wasn't getting overly... I mean, she wanted to stop it, but she wasn't getting emotional about it. You would have thought she would have done something with some emotional content, about that. But she didn't. that I could see. I don't know. With regards to the whole movie, I guess it was okay to go through it once. I didn't fall asleep, and I did have some interest in seeing that the bad guy died or something bad happened to him. He didn't succeed. And that the good guys got through and Scott got his family back. And that Georgia, her ancestor, wasn't killed. And that the president wasn't killed, which would have caused more ramifications. But it was just a so-so time travel movie, if you ask me. Lots of holes. And made-for-TV movie, definitely. I don't know where Tom looked it up. I mean, I can't imagine this being replayed now. How many years later is it? 34 years later? I can't imagine seeing this movie on TV now. So is anybody else that did not see the movie want to make any comments about Time Stalkers, the 1987 movie? Or do we have any late check-ins? This is N5BB, Afterglow Net Control. Please give your call sign only.
November 5, India Mike Sierra.
N5IMS, JJ, did you see the movie? And what do you think?
No, I did not see the movie. I've been enjoying what I've heard of the comments, and it looks like it might be a movie that, if it's on, go ahead and watch, but not necessarily go out of your way to try and find. But I did have a question for Brenda as far as trying to watch all of the time travel movies to find one that's good. I'm curious how many times we'd have to go back in time to give us additional time to watch more of the movies before to allow us to actually find one that is a really good movie. N5IMS, back to net.
Brenda, you can answer that if you want to. My head hurts even thinking about it.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I can tell you the worst time travel movie, and that's Primer. It makes my head hurt just thinking about it. And it's the most convoluted thing you've ever seen. So maybe we should watch it again. We did it once before. That might not be a bad idea. This is WB50ZL.
Was that one where the guys was going back in time, or going in time, and killing his alter ego, trying to get it down so the other people weren't polluting the time stream? There's only one copy of himself left. Is that movie?
I think that's the one you're thinking of. This is the one where your time machine was just a giant cardboard box. They spared no expense.
Yeah, I think that was it. It made my head hurt to think about it. Okay, before I close this net, are there any other comments from anybody or any late check-ins? This is N5BB Afterglow Net. We've been talking about Time Stalkers, the 1987 made-for-TV movie with William Devane and Lauren Hutton. Does anybody have any last comments before I close the net?
Kilo Charlie 6 Zulu Oscar Foxtrot, I have one.
Go right ahead, Doug. This is N5BB Net Control.
Now, it seems that everybody's pondering about how it works. I was just kind of looking through things here, and I found a good website on the NASA website if anybody wants to jump on there and kind of read about
how they describe time travel, which is the same understanding that I have. It's at spaceplace.nasa.gov/time-travel. And it describes the basic idea that everybody right now currently is at a 1 second per second time. And if you increase your speed, the faster you go, the slower time goes. And in a sense, what it's saying is the same understanding I have, that you can only go back in time. You can't go forward in time. So when the discussion about going forward into time occurs, there is theories on that too. And there is one book that was published that really tuned me into that, published by Dr. Paul Hill, who is a former NASA rocket scientist, and it's entitled Unconventional Flying Objects. And it really discusses time travel, how you can go a certain speed, what would happen, even what would happen if you went into a black hole. A lot of things that are very interesting. I think if people were to research that, especially directors and writers of sci-fi, they could probably produce something that everybody seems to be wondering, something that is more realistic about time travel, rather than just using their wild imagination about what can happen and what might happen, and most likely doesn't and won't happen. Like Brenda said, things like that are just, or she suggested, it's real hard to find something that's realistic when it comes to that subject. So that was really about all I wanted to say, and I hope everybody has a good night, and look those up, and if you're really interested in time travel, you'll learn about it if you do a little research, and maybe you can write something better than anybody ever has in the history of sci-fi. Kilo Charlie 6 Zulu, Oscar Foxtrot.
Okay, Doug. Well, I'm going to take issue with your suggestion that you can't go forward in time. I can go to Sunday. All I've got to do is live another 15 minutes. It will be Sunday. So my body, unless I die, is going to get to the year 2022. So going forward in time, my ego will be there. Now you might say, but you want to go forward in time immediately. Well, that's also possible for you. Remember now, relativity. Everything is relative. So if I go and get in a spacecraft and go at 99.9999 the speed of light for what seems to me to be a year, and I get back and open the door, it may be the year 2300. So from my point of view, I've gone forward in time. So going forward in time is very easy if you're taking it from your point of view. Now, if you were somebody in the year 2300 in the future, and this occurred, it would look like somebody from the past was traveling to the future. So I think going to the future is easy. Going to the past is what you can't do. So I didn't understand your comment there. Turn it back over to you, Doug, in 5BB.
Okay, well, based on the experiments that have been done in the past, going forward into time is more of a theory, but going back into time is a proven fact. And if you go on that website, you'll see why. Yes, on a perspective point of view, you are sitting watching somebody take off and they go the speed of light out of the universe. There's no way you have any contact with them. And they, to you, are going into the future. To them, they're staying they're still going 1 second per second. So it's relative to the object that you're discussing. If you were to be sucked in to something that was sucking things in at the speed of light, then you would go into the future. But you would not know you were going into the future. And not only that, but you don't know where you're going to end up either. So that's why I was suggesting Paul Hill's book. He explains that very much in high quality detail with formulas that you can actually work yourself if you have any background in math. And you can see that he's accurate with everything. And NASA here also says the same thing, that we know that we can go backwards in time if we increase our speed enough. But we can't go forward in time unless you are the person observing the other person moving. So it's really confusing, it's hard to understand, but that's why I was trying to just offer some suggestions on research. Kilo Charlie 6 Zulu Oscar Foxtrot.
Okay, well, I'm going to close this down, but I still think it's pseudoscience if you think that there's something you can do to get back to 2020. That would be going backwards in time, where you would yourself open the door and there'd be a different president and things would be, the clocks, everybody's calendar would say 2020. That's impossible. I don't understand your comment that you can go backwards in time. It makes no sense to me. Anyway, let me close the net for now. And Tom, have you figured out what the movie is going to be for next week? KE5ICX and 5BB.
Yes, Bill, I did. And are you ready? Everybody be ready. Here it comes. We have a Martin Sheen time travel movie. No, not the one you're thinking. Not Final Countdown. And he's not playing a Kennedy. It's called Thrill Seekers from 1999. A reporter learning of time travelers visiting 20th century disasters tries to change the history they know by averting upcoming disasters. I knew you were excited about it, but I'm sorry. I had Terminator Salvation, which probably wasn't a very good movie anyway. It's been pulled. Probably critics storm the streaming best deal. Back to you, Bill. KE5I6.
Okay, Tom, I'm not sure if I understood that correctly. You say the movie next week is going to be Thrill, THRILL, Seekers, SEEKERS, a 1997 movie. Is that correct?
Actually, I think it's 1999. Yes, 1999. PG-13, an hour and 28 minutes. You can pay for it, or you can watch it on YouTube for free. I don't know why anybody want to pay for it, but at any rate, it's there. KE5ICX.
Okay, next week, a 1999 movie. So we're moving 12 years forward in time from a 1987 movie to a 1999 movie. Thrill Seekers, 1999 movie. Next week, Afterglow, 10:30 p.m. after Skynet. Be there or be drawn and quartered in a time warp when you have two areas connected by a time warp. That's all I got. In 5BB clear. Good night.
Send 5 IMS with a couple of comments. On the practical matter, it's fairly easy to move forward and back in time if you're in the proper spot. Basically, just go back and forth across the international time zone. And so there you move forward and back in time. And being we're stuck on time travel movies, I guess we'll do the time warp again. What is it, a step to the left and a jump to the right, or vice versa? And 5 IMS, 7-3. Enjoy the net. Good night.
Well,
this is Dan. I've been watching the Time Stalkers movie, so I missed most of the net. Love the Time Warp song and video, and the whole movie that's in. And this movie's actually really good. Okay, high five, QDA.
Now we're different, normally, in most places. But that doesn't mean that you're going forward and back in time by walking across an imaginary line from one time zone to another. That's just a human convention on how we set our clocks. So I reject your thesis. Good night, and 5BB.
I've stood on the exact south pole of the Earth, stepped 1 foot outward, and walked in a circle, which technically said I walked around the world in less than 5 seconds.
And that's possible, but that's not time travel, but circumnavigating the globe is. Renee made a comment here, he or she, we don't know who it is, but said Stephen Hawking held a cocktail party for time travelers. No one showed up. I kind of like that comment. All right, I'm out of here. I got to go track down thrill seekers and send the stuff out. Anybody wants to be a part of this, you can send an email to me, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray, at yahoo.com, or go to the Facebook page and look for Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and sign up there, and you'll find a list of movies. I always post them usually Sunday morning, nearly always Sunday morning before 10 o'clock. So you'll find it, and the links, both, if there's a pay link, it's there. If there's a free link, definitely it's there, and you'll find it. All this stuff is usually streamed out over on YouTube or one of the streaming services that you may have, free and otherwise. So I give you alternatives and choices. And this one, Thrill Seekers, actually has a choice over on Amazon. Internet Movie Database. Looks like they can do the movie. I'm not sure. Prime Video may have it as well. I had to find this one really quick because the other movie wasn't available, so I had to come up with something, and we pretty much run through the list of available movies on the list. Okay, that's it from me. Good night, everybody. See you later. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.